Window number 2 of World Cup qualifying is just around the corner, and the roster should come out any day now. So here's my prediction of who is going to be in that roster for the next round of World Cup qualifying. So the day this is going to come out, it's going to be Tuesday. At the moment, it's looking like the roster is going to be Wednesday. It could be Thursday. We're just going to have to wait and see. Also, we don't know how big the roster is going to be. Last time we had 26, but because of injuries, COVID, players getting sent home, it didn't end up being 26. It just kind of ended up being 22, 21, and guys coming in. Anyway, for this, I'm going to say 28, and we're going to go through position by position. I'm going to show you what I think Greg is going to put on the roster, and then what I would put myself. Only a few changes here and there. So, yeah, let's jump right into it. Let's start off with the goalkeepers. Okay, I think the goalkeeper is not the most exciting position to talk about. There's not really the biggest discussion. Zach Steffen and Matt Turner are number 1 and 2. That's not even a question. Matt Turner is my number 1. I think he should start all 3 games. I'm not quite sure how Berhalter sees it. Third goalkeeper, now, presumably it would be Ethan Horvath. He was the number 3 back in September. But you never know. Sean Johnson could come in as a number 3 because Horvath hasn't really played that much for Nottingham. If you had told me a couple days ago, I would have said there would be 4 goalies. Sean Johnson would be the 4th because of the COVID restrictions, but it looks like Zach Steffen and all the other UK-based players will be able to travel to Panama for the second game of this window. I had the exact same as what my prediction was. So for the center backs, though, there is going to be a tweak. Let's go through them right now. So for Berhalter's 5, I think there are going to be 5 center backs. I have John Brooks, Mark Mckenzie, Tim Rheem, Chris Richards, and Miles Robinson. So Brooks and Robinson are going to be there no matter what. Brooks is our best center back. Even if he was bad in the last window, he's still a very, very high quality center back. Miles Robinson, at the moment, based on form, is our best center back. He was the best in September, the best in the Gold Cup. So absolutely he's going to be here, and in my opinion is our starting right center back with Brooks. Chris Richards is an interesting one because he wasn't there in September. He did get that transfer to Hoffenheim on loan, but I think he's been good enough for Hoffenheim. He's more than earned a spot and at least 1 start in this window. Now the other 2 are interesting. Tim Rheem. I mean, I don't think quality-wise he's really got what it takes to be a big contributor. He was competent against El Salvador. I don't really think he has a long-term future with this team on the field. So if he comes in as like a 6th center back, because there's no roster limit, just to kind of be a mentor, whatever, fill in, whatever, fine. But I don't think he should really see the field, even if he is on the roster. Mark Mckenzie, I have him coming in over Walker Zimmerman, predictions-wise. Zimmerman didn't play a single minute in September. Mark Mckenzie played quite well in the game against Honduras. And he was, even though he was a bit shaky in the Nations League, I think Mark Mckenzie, who's been having some good games for Genk recently, deserves a spot on this roster. Now, in terms of what I would like to see, I just have one tweak. I'd like to see Matt Miazga come in instead of Tim Rheem. Miazga's had some really good games since he moved over to Alaves in Spain, and I just like him more than Tim Rheem to play in this roster. Even if he's not going to play a whole lot of minutes, I think, you know what, he's got a lot to give and can definitely be a good partner for Miles Robinson as a left center back if John Brooks, we want to rest him or whatever. Under the fullbacks, and this is one of the more interesting positions. Now, I think there are going to be 5. There were 4 last time, but it really ended up only being 2 by the last game because Yedlin was gassed. Dest got injured against Canada. So I think that Serginho Dest and Anthony Robinson, those are the 2 starters, presumably, and those 2 are locks. I have George Bello as the backup left back, and DeAndre Yedlin as the backup right back. Backup right back, we'll come to that one in a second. We'll get back there. So those are all the same as September. I mean, Bello wasn't very good against Honduras, but who else are we going to really bring in as a natural left back? And then Joe Scally has been having some good games over in Germany with Mönchengladbach, so I bring him in. I mean, I was a little skeptical at first when he got his first couple of games. I was like, could just be 1 or 2 good games. But he's maintained that level over the first month of the season, and that is what we need to see if a guy wants to get in the national team picture. and Joe Scally has done that. The fact that he can play both right back and left back and is a much more solid option defensively than Serginho Dest and even DeAndre Yedlin, I like to bring him in because he could be a long-term part of this team. Now, I said I would come back to the backup right back. I'm going to show you kind of what my one change would be from what I think will end up happening. Kind of cheating here because I genuinely don't think he's going to accept the call-up, but I would like to see Julian Araujo as the backup right back over DeAndre Yedlin. I think Araujo's actually got a very high ceiling. It's a little difficult for him because he does play in a relatively deep position for the U.S., but if the last window showed us anything, it's not as deep as we thought, and he's definitely got a long-term future with this team if he chooses to stick with the U.S. and if he can reach his full potential. Obviously, Mexico are we're going for him as well, and I think that's probably what he's going to end up doing for guarantee of playing time because their right backs are not very good at all. But yeah, we'll see. I'd love to see him in October, and I'd love to see him get one start. On to the midfielders now. Normally, I just treat defensive midfielders and the 8 attacking midfielders as completely separate positions. Right now, I'm just going to put them together. You'll see why, because a couple of guys can play both. So defensive midfielders, we'll start with those, Kellyn Acosta and Tyler Adams, those two, guaranteed. Now Kellyn Acosta could also play the 8, and then, yeah, those two are locks. There's not really much to discuss. I don't think James Sands will be here because he wasn't good against Honduras, and he hasn't really been setting the world alight for New York. Attacking midfielders, now Gianluca Buzio, he could play as the 6 or as the attacking midfielder. He's been good for Venezia. I don't see how he would not be in this roster, and also there are some hints maybe that he is going to be here. Sebastian Lletget scored against Honduras. There's no way he's not going to be in this team no matter what. Greg just likes him, and guess what? I like him too, so I have him in this roster. Weston Mckinney, now he did get sent home from the last camp, but I think he's going to be back. Greg Berhalter implied it in some of his things he said since the camp ended. Yeah, I think Weston McKennie's going to be here. Yunus Musa, he's been alright since coming back from injury for Valencia. I have him back in the roster. This will be where he's finally officially cap-tied. And then I think Berhalter's final attacking midfielder is going to be Christian Roldan. Now, this is a tricky one because, I mean, he's in good form. He scored a couple goals lately. He didn't look too good in September. Now, there is someone I would rather see than Roldan. We'll come back to it in a second. But, yeah, I think Roldan is going to be here. He can also play on the wing. But the thing is, Berhalter doesn't really trust him to start. He only brings him off the bench late in games, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's just an interesting strategy. But there's another guy a lot of people want to see, and that's Luca De La Torre. Now, I am not in the De La Torre hive personally. I don't like that he turned down a call-up back in the Gold Cup because he's a starter for Heracles. Some people will try and tell you he's been amazing for Heracles. I saw one Heracles game just to watch him. He was not the best player in the field. And look, I mean, he's a decent player, but the fact that he's kind of a fringe player and then turned down a call-up, I don't really think he can be in this team. And he's kind of begging for a call-up as well. That's not how you get call-ups. You have to earn them on merit. There's another guy, Julian Green. A lot of people have been raving about him. He's obviously playing for Greuther Fürth in the Bundesliga, but he's not really been a standout. The team is not a Bundesliga-level team. I don't think Julian Green, given the options we have, given some guys who are now settling in from their transfers, I don't think he's going to be on this roster. All right, so this is my very, very hot take. I think Georgi Mihailovic of CF Montreal should come into this roster. Now, a lot of people are going to just remember the games he played in 2019 where, you know, he wasn't amazing. If you've been watching Montreal this season, he has been one of the best attacking players in MLS, and I am not exaggerating when I say that. He has the second most assists in the entire league. He's only 2 behind Carlos Gil, who's the locked-in MVP. He has the most goal contributions, combined goals and assists, out of any American in MLS, though actually he's tied with Ricardo Pepe. And again, he's still only 22, and there's a very good chance he moves to Europe in January. This is definitely a player to watch, and he's been playing as kind of an attacking midfielder, kind of like a Gio Reyna for the national team kind of role. I think he's more than earned a spot. If he's not here, in October. I absolutely want to see him in December camp, where it's just going to be MLS players. On to the wingers, and this is what I think Berhalter is going to do. So I think he's going to go with Brendan Aronson. That's a lock, by the way. I think he's going to bring in Paul Arriola. Matthew Hoppe should be here. I think he will be here. Christian Pulisic, he's kind of recovering from injury, but we don't 100% know if he's going to be back, but he probably will. Probably. And Tim Weah, 100% will be here. So Tim Weah, we'll start with him. He was in the team of the week for Ligue 1 this week, and he got an assist and won a penalty. He might start one of these games. Good player, very vertical. That's what we need in this team. Christian Pulisic is the best player on this team. He doesn't really need an explanation. Brendan Aronson was our best attacking player in September camp. That also needs no explanation. I think he'll start 1, if not 2 games. Matthew Hoppe was not in the camp in September. He's really been playing as a striker for Mallorca like he did for Schalke. He played as a winger in the Gold Cup. I have him as a winger here, just kind of because of who the strikers are and because there's no Gio Reyna. But yeah, I have Matthew Hoppe over here. Now, this is also a position that Georgie or Roldan can also play on the wing, because their roles for Seattle and Montreal aren't exactly the same as the roles that exist in the U.S. system. And I think he's going to bring in Paul Arriola just because of his track record. He's typically brought in Arriola. He was injured for the last camp. He was injured in the Nations League camp as well. I think Paul Arriola is going to be here, though I personally would not call him up. This is who I would call. I would call Conrad de la Fuente. I don't think he's going to call Conrad. So he did actually start the El Salvador game. He didn't do too well and then didn't play for the rest. He got 7 minutes against Canada. He really didn't play for the rest of the camp. He didn't play against Honduras. And he hasn't been amazing for Marseille. He had a couple good moments here and there, little flashes. But with Paul Arriola back, I don't really, and Matthew Hoppe now available, his transfer is all sorted. I don't really think he's going to call in Conrad, but you know what? We'll have to wait and see. I would like to see him here, though, as the 5th winger ahead of Arriola. And then for the center forwards, this one is easy because me and Berhalter, I have the same prediction. So Jordan Pefok, Ricardo Pepe, and Gyasi Zardes. Now there's one glaring absence, Josh Sargent. We need strikers who are going to score goals. Is Josh Sargent going to do it? Did he score for Norwich? No. Did he score in September? No. Did he score in the Nations League? No. Did he score in March? No. Did he score for Bremen? No. And guess what these other 3 strikers are doing? Ricardo Pepe has 12 goals in MLS. As I mentioned before, he's tied with Georgi Mihailovic for the most goal contributions of any American at 14. Jordan Pefok has, I believe, 9 goals already this season. Maybe it's something like that. It's ridiculous how many goals he's scoring. Now, it's obviously in the Swiss League, which is the lower level. That's fine, because scoring goals is all that matters. The level, it's still scoring goals. Gyasi Zardes, he hasn't had his best season for Columbus, but he just came off scoring 2 goals. Strikers, scoring goals is what matters. And Gyasi Zardes, like him or don't like him, you know what they say, Gyasi Zardes, he's inevitable. And even if he doesn't score, now this is a little tricky, he can sometimes stretch the opponent, and that's not really something that Josh Sargent can do. And I think Pepe is going to start the first game, because right now he's the de facto starting striker. He scored a goal, got 2 assists, and set up the 4th goal against Honduras. What more do you want, especially from an 18-year-old? So Ricardo Pepe right now, his stock is very high. The sky's the limit for him. Ajax are looking at him, AC Milan, Bologna, Bayern Munich. This guy, he's going to go to the very, very top. And, he's an obvious pick for this roster, and he's my starting striker as well. So let me know what you thought of this roster. Who would you pick? Who I didn't pick? Who I didn't even mention in this video? Who would you pick? There are definitely a few guys who have a shot. There are a lot of guys, actually, who have good shots for this roster. But, don't forget to like the video, follow me on Twitter and TikTok, and also, of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let's try and hit 500 subscribers. But anyway, I will see you guys when the roster comes out. Adios.